The jungle was breathing around them, thick with mist and tension, as the Navy SEALs crept forward through the uneven terrain, their boots sinking softly into the mud, each step carefully placed, each breath calculated to avoid detection, for in the shadows of the forgotten ruins ahead, they knew death waited in forms they had never trained for. The mission was supposed to be a breach and extract high-value target in and out under 30 minutes. No contact with locals and no unnecessary casualties. But nothing in the briefing had prepared them for the silence that had settled around the compound, or the strange way the birds had vanished. The wind had stopped, and the trees themselves seemed to lean away from the crumbling stone walls, like they too were afraid to watch what was coming. They moved in squads of 2, flanking the perimeter with night vision lenses, scanning every corner, every rooftop, every broken window for signs of movement. But it was too quiet, the kind of quiet that screams just before it breaks, and in the heart of that stillness came a rustle, a shuffle, the kind of sound you feel before you hear it. And then she stepped into view. She was no older than 10, wearing a tattered dress that dragged behind her soaked from the rain that had passed an hour earlier, her bare feet pressing into the mud as if she had been standing there a long time, waiting for someone or something, and in her arms pressed close to her chest was a bundle wrapped in cloth too neat to be random, too important to ignore. The squad leader signaled a freeze, and every weapon turned toward her, but none fired. Not because they were soft, not because they hesitated, but because something was wrong. Not with her, but around her the air was shifting, and not a single man could shake the feeling that this child was not lost, but placed exactly where she was meant to be. One SEAL took a slow step forward, whispering in the local dialect, asking if she was hurt, asking if she was alone. But she didn't answer. She didn't blink her lips, didn't move her eyes, didn't shift. They were fixed not on him, but past him, past the barrel of his rifle and past the second man behind him towards something just beyond their line of vision. And that was when the radio's died static erupted like a scream across every channel, each earpiece buzzing uselessly before going silent. Not a drop in signal, but a kill. A total severing of communication, and the SEALs moved fast hands, signing fallback. Roots fallback formations. But the girl didn't move. She only raised the bundle higher, as if offering it to someone. Not them, not yet. Then came the first noise, a low vibration in the earth, a pulse that rattled through their bones, not mechanical, not natural. Like something waking up beneath them or above them or within the ruined compound itself, and the girl took a single step forward toward them, not away, and then another, and that was when they saw the figure behind her. It was tall, impossibly, so its body covered in something that absorbed light rather than reflected it, and though it moved like a man, there was nothing human in its posture, in the smoothness of its limbs, or the way it seemed to hover slightly above the ground. Not quite. Walking but gliding, and where its eyes should have been, there was only glow weapons rose again, faster this time, but the squad leader signaled, hold his instincts warring with protocol because this was not a target they had prepared for, and the child was still in the line of fire, still moving toward them, with something in her arms that was beginning to hum. The hum grew louder with each step she took. Not electronic, not mechanical, but almost like a song made from frequencies only part of them could hear. And the closer she came, the more the song began to dig into their minds, pulling at memories that didn't belong to them, thoughts they had never had, faces they had never seen. One man dropped to a knee, gripping his head, his breathing rapid, like panic trying to take over, but another grabbed his arm, grounding him, pulling him back. But even then, even as they tried to regroup, the jungle behind them stirred. Leaves rustled, not from wind, but from something moving, something large and fast just out of view, and the SEALs turned weapons aimed eyes wide and alert, but there was nothing there. Only that feeling again, the one that says you are not the hunter here, you are not the predator. You are the bait. The girl had stopped just 10 feet in front of them now, her eyes still fixed on the space behind them, her arms still cradling the bundle that now glowed faintly red, as if something inside it was waking up or remembering what it was meant to do. And then, without warning, she screamed. It was not a cry for help, not fear, not pain, but a command. A high, piercing sound that didn't echo, but sank into the trees, into the ground, into the bones of every man who heard it. And then the earth itself seemed to shift beneath them like something massive had rolled over in its sleep. Before they could react, the figure behind her stepped forward into full view, its face still hidden by the glow, but now close enough to reveal that it wore no armor, no gear, only a skin that shimmered like oil on water and hands that stretched just slightly too long, just slightly too thin. And then the girl moved again, fast this time, straight toward the squad leader. Her eyes wide, her mouth still open in that silent scream as the bundle pulsed once, twice, and then lit up with a flash of red so deep it stained the trees around them and froze, every man where he stood. The last thought that crossed their minds before the light swallowed them was not fear or regret, but recognition. Not of the girl, not of the creature, but of the sound that had come from the bundle, a frequency used only in one place in the world by one agency, and only for one purpose, to summon something buried. The light vanished as quickly as it had come, leaving behind the scent of scorched air and the eerie silence of something finished, yet not over the Navy SEALs, stood still, blinking rapidly, their vision adjusting again to the night. But they were not where they had been before, not in the jungle, not near the ruined fort, but somewhere else entirely. The ground beneath them was cold, too cold, the kind of cold that sinks into bone and never leaves, and the sky above was not the black of night, but a shade of gray that pulsed as if alive and watching, and the girl was gone along with the figure and the bundle and the trees and the mission. But the fear remained. The squad leader called out quietly, his voice hoarse, his mind still reeling from the frequency, from the scream, from the way. Time itself had seemed to stretch and then snap, and when no one answered, he turned to see that only 3 others stood with him, their faces pale and covered in sweat, their weapons lowered and eyes darting in every direction. They were surrounded by stone walls. Not ruins, but something newly built, massive slabs of black material that curved in unnatural angles. Too perfect, too clean, and the walls were covered in markings. Not paint, not carvings, but something pulsing faintly, like veins beneath skin. And as they took a step forward, those markings began to shift. One of them whispered that this was wrong, that this place was not on any map, not part of the operation, and not part of anything man had ever built. But the walls seemed to hear him, and a low tone echoed through the corridor ahead like a horn made of metal and bone and warning all at once. Then they saw it, the first body sprawled against the far wall, armor shattered, face twisted in agony, not one of theirs but someone else. Someone wearing gear marked with a flag they didn't recognize, and weapons that pulsed with a blue light now fading fast, as if whatever powered them had given up the moment they were no longer needed. They checked for signs of life, but there was none, only the expression of someone who had seen something too large to fit in the mind, something that shattered understanding. And before they could speak again, the corridor lights blinked once, then twice. Then everything went red. They moved, quickly deeper into the structure, guns raised, eyes sharp, every instinct screaming to escape. But there was no exit, no door, no path that led back to the jungle, and the only direction left was forward through halls that twisted just slightly too, far through rooms that echoed with the footsteps of things no longer there. The silence became oppressive, pressing against their ears like cotton soaked in static, and then one of them stopped, turned his head slowly, and whispered that he could hear something breathing behind the walls, not one thing, but many. All at once, all in rhythm, like a choir of lungs waiting to exhale. The squad leader ignored it, focused on keeping them moving until they reached the central chamber, a wide dome with no roof, only that gray sky above, and at its center, a pedestal, and on it, the bundle now unwrapped, now open, and what it held was not a weapon. Not exactly, but something worse. It looked like a heart too large to be human, too irregular to be machine pulsing, in silence. And with every beat, the floor seemed to throb with it. And behind the pedestal there she stood. The girl, eyes now black as coal and mouth still open, still screaming, though no sound came out anymore. The figure appeared again, not from the shadows, but from the air itself, forming like smoke into flesh. And now it wore a face that flickered between a man and a woman, between young and old, between familiar and foreign. And when it spoke, it did not use words, but memories each seal. Felt it at once, memories not theirs surging through their minds. Images of cities, burning skies, torn open ships larger than mountains, descending not to conquer but to retrieve, to reclaim something taken from them long ago, something that had been hidden inside this earth, inside this place, inside her. The girl turned slowly and her feet lifted from the ground, rising gently as the heart pulsed faster, the sky above flickering as if lightning danced just behind it.